It looks like it's almost time. So I think I have 3 names: Maria Walden, Executive Director; Richard Phillips, Chair Retention and our Chair Retirement Education; and my personal favorite, Hap Hairston, who's the Vice President of Missouri Retired Teacher Association. So Hap and I have worked together since 2006, and what a wonderful educator and collaborator, and I'm so happy that you're here with your team presenting on MACTE and MRTA, I don't know if you call it MRTA, rocking together to recruit and retain teachers. So welcome to MACTE.
All righty. Well, Stephanie, thank you very much. And it looks like we've got a lot of people on board. So thank you. So Sarah, if you go ahead and bring up our slides, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Need to introduce Sarah.
Yeah. All right, there we go. We also have Sarah Heller in our office. We're broadcasting to you from our MRTA office in Jeff City. And Sarah's joined us as well. She's our technician behind the scenes with it. So as we move forward, and it's been, we're just talking to Robin at Missouri Western, it's been 5.5 years since I retired, and it's hard to believe it's been that long, but it's good to see some familiar faces and then an opportunity to get some more, to meet some more people. So be sure your microphone is on mute. If you have any questions, please please type those into the Zoom chat. If you wish, keep your camera on, or as Janice said, she's afraid about her buddy helping her, so she's going to keep hers off. So whichever works best for you. So as we move on to the next slide, Sarah.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
I have this covered up and I can't see what I'm doing. There we go.
That's all right. Okay. As Stephanie pointed out, this is MACTE and MRTA rocking together to recruit and retain teachers. I hope your fall conference is going well. I've never participated in an online fall conference, but it's great that we can spend some time together today. As we move on to our learning outcomes, building upon the rockin' theme, we'd like to explore the benefits of developing a relationship with MACTE and MRTA, discuss ways to optimize our efforts in recruiting, supporting, and retaining quality educators, and how we can collaborate to identify when and where to provide access to information and resources, and using our know-how with both groups to improve the retention of our educators. Today, we actually have, as Stephanie's introduced everybody, we have 3 different speakers. Our first one is going to be in 3 different parts. We're going to talk about mission, financial benefits, and how. Richard Phillips is a distinguished educator in the state of Missouri. I met Richard way back in the 1980s, which gives you some idea about the longevity of Richard in the career. He's been a teacher, leader, collaborator, and recently recognized as one of Missouri's pioneers in education. One of the things that Richard has a strong passion for is our Missouri public schools. So he will share that with you in a moment. Our second speaker is Maria Alden. Maria is our new executive director, and we'll introduce her a little bit later as we get started. So Richard, if you would, please share your passion about what's right for Missouri public schools.
Yeah, good afternoon to each of you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to visit with you on an item that's extremely important to the health and vitality of the state and, quite frankly, this country. The question facing, in my mind, the country today is who will teach our kids? And to me, that's the reference point that all of us need to begin to address. I think most of us understand that there is a direct relationship between the quality of life in a community and the quality of educational services that are provided. In my days with DESA years ago, I was told by Arthur Mallory the correlation between the public schools and the quality of life. And as I watched that evolve over the years, I'm convinced that there is a direct relationship between what goes on in the local schoolhouse and what the quality of life issues are within that community. One of the things that we've tried to do at MRTA is begin to look at what can we do to change the discussion on public education. All of us are aware that there is a lot of bashing, if you will, of public education. My 3 kids are teachers in public schools. I have one son that teaches in Oak Grove. Daughter-in-law teaches there. I have a daughter that teaches here in Jefferson City, and another son who just began his administrative career as a middle school principal in Lexington. I visit with my 3 kids on a regular basis about the challenges they face, and try to have conversations with them around strategies to help them in their endeavors. But one of the things we've tried to do at MRTA is to shift the conversation from all of the negative rhetoric around public schools to have a discussion around what is right about public schools. And so as we try to get our arms around that, what are some of the issues that we need to embrace? And Hap showed you just preceding all of this, a document around keeping Missouri community strong with experienced school leaders. What we did in 2019 was begin to look at some of the factors around public education and to realize the correlation between the teaching staff in this state and student performance. So we begin to look at the fact that Missouri, as you see on the slide, when you look at student performance measures of the kids in our state, we are at or above national average. At the same time, when you start looking at the issues confronting Missouri schools in terms of our salaries, the state distribution to public schools, and we'll go through this at a later time in this presentation. But looking at all of the input factors on public education, we're at or near the bottom in what we pay teachers in terms of the per pupil cost to educate a child, et cetera, et cetera. And yet our student performance is at or above national average. And so one asks the question, well, why is that? And the thing that most leading educators across the state will embrace is the fact that we have a teaching staff that is seasoned, well experienced, and very knowledgeable. So as we look at this, again, getting at the issue of what's right about public schools, there are many things that are right about public schools. The public schools will take anybody who's on their doorstep. It doesn't matter whether the child is from a foreign country, whether the child can speak English, whether the child has an academic challenging situation. It doesn't matter. If that kid shows up on the doorstep of a public school, the public schools opens the door. That is not the case in many of our private schools. And by the way, we have many private schools in the state that are really very, very good. We have charter schools in the state that are very good. But most of these states, or most of these entities, have requirements around who they will accept. The other thing about public schools in terms of what is right, the smaller class size from early childhood education all the way up through high school. The specialized classes that are provided in advanced and technical schools, and that range is all over the place in terms of children who have unique handicapping conditions to those kids that are gifted. The public school system provides a wide range of educational programs and services to every kid that comes to their school. The services and resources that are provided to a diverse student body and to their families. In the school districts that I have worked with over the state, it's always impressive to me how the school district will embrace the resources within that community, whether they be faith-based, whether they be through civic clubs, whatever. So there's a wide range of services that are provided to a diverse population. The academic assistance provided in special fields One of the things, we're looking at the next item here, free and reduced meals and snacks. One of the real challenges that we had during the pandemic is kids did not get that. Kids were not able to receive the health care. They were not able to receive the specialized services that public schools provide. The public schools provide services that go way beyond the academics and what takes place within the classroom. When kids come to school, if they have health needs, the administrators, the teachers in that school have protocol in which to refer kids to places where they can get assistance, either through the local nurse, the local healthcare facilities within the community. The next one is extracurricular activities, and it's more than academics. It's more than what is seen here. As I look at public schools in the state, going back on my own experience and looking at it through what my kids are involved in their respective districts and what my grandkids have received as they go through and have gone through public schools. There are speech and debate teams. There are science clubs. In the rural communities, there are agriculture judging contests. There are all kinds of activities for kids around crop production, around looking at research on different activities related to agriculture in this state. There are a host of activities that are provided to schools that go way beyond the K-12 24-hour school day. The extracurricular activities people usually think of as athletics and so forth, and that certainly is a piece of it, but it's much, much bigger than that. The issues around, jumping back up, a part that I missed, the things that I've seen around kids who need eyeglasses, kids who need hearing assistance, kids who need all kinds of services, the school district begins to generate a structure of support behind each kid, utilizing community resources to help meet the needs of that child. The other factor that to me is critically important is that the school becomes the hub of a community. Again, over the years, when Hap mentioned this, how long I've been in the business, all that really means is I'm really getting old. But in going back on that experience, one of the things I have seen is how the school provides the heartbeat of that community. And looking at what happened in Minden, Missouri here just this past summer, when the Amtrak train derailed and there was a series of traumatic issues there, the school became the home base for all the medical services. They became the center for communications, where the passengers, within 4 hours of that train wreck, all of the passengers had been dispersed to places where they needed to go, either for additional medical care or connection to other transportation services, etc. My point in all that is that the schoolhouse becomes the hub of every activity within that community. And that is critically important. To me, one of the things that I continue to fall back on is how the public education in this state is the driving force in economic development in this state. I know of no other entity that does more to drive the economy of this state than public education. The other factor on our handout is the issue around accountability, academic performance of students. School districts through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education are held accountable for a variety of standards that have been established by the citizens of this state in terms of how students are to perform relative to dropout rate, relative to performance on certain performance characteristics in terms of overall GPA, in terms of looking at the percentage of kids that go to college and go on to trade school, et cetera, et cetera. So the school again becomes the heartbeat of a particular community. The next slide looks at teachers making a difference and how experienced teachers matter. As I said a little bit ago, when I started looking at the student performance of this state, it is clear that looking at a variety of student performance measures, whether it be ACT, percentage of kids going on to college and technical schools, the percentage of kids that retain the capacity to stay in college and graduate, the number of kids who go into the job market, et cetera, we are at or above national averages. And looking at what other states in this country do. And yet, as I said a while ago, and we'll touch on this again a little bit later, what we put into public education, we're at or near the bottom in every one of those performance characteristics. We know that the teachers with 15 years of experience, that once our teaching force reaches 15 years, the vast majority of those people will stay in public education. Again, leading to an experienced, seasoned teaching force in Missouri. Let me stop with that and turn this over to Maria for our next series of presentations on this.
Well, thank you, Richard. As Richard indicated, our next speaker is Maria Walden. She's our MRTA Executive Director. She's been in that position since February of 2022. She doesn't like the word new, so we'll say she's been there 8 months now and has 4 months left before she's not new anymore. But she's been traveling the state, meeting with our units, collaborating with a variety of different education-focused associations, building relationships with state and national government leaders. Maria is going to share information with you about, of course, MRTA, but she's also, when she came to MRTA, she left her position at PSRS and peers. So she is our local expert on that as well. So she's going to talk to you about Missouri's has one of the best public school retirement system in the United States. And we would like to be sure that our pre-service teachers know about that as they perhaps come into the profession, but certainly when they get ready to exit. So at this point, Maria, it's all yours.
Oh, awesome. Thank you guys so much for having us. One, this is such a pleasure to talk to such a instrumental group that is really advocating and getting our young people excited about education. One of the things that MRTA has done wonderful, we like to call it the ABCs, is the advocacy on our pensions. We have, as Hap mentioned, one of the best pension systems in the nation. We have a funded ratio that's in the 85th percentile, which is absolutely phenomenal. More importantly, our retired teachers, when they go to retire, if they go first when eligible, they will earn about 75% of what their final average salary is when they retire, which is absolutely phenomenal. And you just don't see that anywhere else in the United States. And because of that, we really are proud of the retirement system. And we really are good. Our nearly 30,000 members are unbelievably passionate about that pension system. One of the things that we've changed and one of the things that we're leaning towards right now is also advocating on behalf of our public education system. What is right with public education? Richard touched on a lot of points that we talk about over and over again. Our school teachers are really facing a unique dilemma right now. They came off of COVID, and instead of being applauded for all the efforts that they went through, they are seeing more and more concern and more criticism. And what our goal is to make sure that our teachers feel very supported, both active when they're teaching as well as in the classroom. And there's several things that we're looking at doing in the future. One of those is a no matter what friend. No matter what happens, do you have a mentor that you can contact that'll give you advice no matter what and answer those questions? And that's one of the things that we are looking at down the road that we plan on doing for our new teachers, our teachers that are under 2 years of service in the system. We see a huge turnover rate in starting teachers when they get into the classroom. And we think that maybe with some good mentorship, with some good coaching, once they start teaching, that maybe we can make an impact on that number as well. So that's on our advocacy side of things. B are the benefits that MRTA provides. We provide insurance discounts to different facilities, and members can join that aren't retired. That is one of the things that we really don't advocate that much with, but we urge every one of our active teachers to be a member of MRTA. There's different benefits, different discounts they can get for $25 a year for an active teacher. It is a phenomenal benefit, if nothing else, to protect that pension that you have. And we'll talk about the value that is with that pension shortly. And then our sense of community. MRTA has nearly 30,000 members. And it is always enlightening when you go in, and I've been around this state, and it is amazing that they all have the same stories, no matter if they're in urban or if they're in rural, if they're in K-8 or if they're in high school. They all seem to share the same issues, the same concerns, and the same problems that we're facing right now. MRTA volunteers right around 680,000 hours last year we did to our local communities. We say that we are the heart and souls of our local communities. I always say that all you need to do is walk around with a kindergarten teacher to a state fair, and you know how important our kindergarten teachers are, as well as our other teachers. So that being said, we also give foundation grants, and part of our foundation grants that we have given in the last few years, we've given, since our inception, almost close to $500,000 back to our active teachers for programs that really should be funded by the state as good issues and good initiatives for our active teachers, but instead they're being funded by our retired teachers who really understand the hurdles that are being faced by our active teachers. As we mentioned, volunteer hours, we had roughly around 644,000 of those. We also give to hunger. In 2021, we gave over 25,000. We anticipate that number to increase in 2022. Part of it is the offset of inflation that we're seeing. Again, there's a huge value, a huge issue of being part of a larger group, part of a larger community, and that's what we like at MRTA. PSRs, I'm going to touch a little bit about my love of PSRs. I went to work for PSRs about 15 years ago in their Director of Legislation and Policy position. It's a defined benefit plan. For those of you that aren't familiar, defined benefit plan offers a retirement pension for our teachers after a full career of service. It is phenomenally important that we make sure that our teachers give the best and brightest of their years, that those are also commended when they go to retire, and that they're living with peace of mind, with financial security in their retirement. PSRS has an elected board of trustees. There are 4 elected positions. There are 3 that are appointed by the governor, one of which must be a retired teacher. We have lifetime benefits based on a formula. Right now, the formula is 2.5 times your years of service times your final average salary, which is based on 3 years, the highest 3 years of salary that you have. We offer a retirement benefit that is given. In June 30, 2022, we had over 103,000 PSRS peers retirees receiving close to $3.4 billion back in the economy. During COVID, it was our retired teachers, it was retired pensioners that really kept the economy moving in COVID. Our retired teachers didn't have to worry about buying things, about where their paycheck was coming. And in fact, we saw most of our retired teachers, when we spoke with them, were really instrumental in providing support to our younger generation, to their kids, to make sure that they could go through COVID with least disruption to their family's income. PSRS is the 46th largest defined benefit plan in the United States, 96th largest investor in the world. They have over $56.8 billion in assets. They are funded close to 85% on the PSRS side. Phenomenal pension system. One of the best in the nation. And I don't say that just because I worked with them for 15 years. I say that because it truly does. They have a COLA that they give every year that is based anywhere between 0 and 5% based on the CPI, and offers our retirees a promise that they in retirement will still be able to live in the comfort that they did while they were teaching. In Missouri, our beginning teacher salary is $38,000 annually. There was a bill that was passed and signed by the governor this year. It requires our local entities to match 30% of that cost. The Blue Ribbon Commission, which Hab's going to talk about later on, sets this as one of their priorities as putting that in statute so that it doesn't need the match for the 30% from our local communities. Out of that 38,000, PSRS requires that 14.5% be put away to the retirement plan for the employee and the employer. The district matches it. That is a deferred wage. That is something that our active teachers earn, and that is part of their retirement, part of their benefit package. On average, that monthly cost will be for a 38,000 is roughly around $459 a month, $5,500 annually. And keep in mind that Social Security is not what our teachers pay in the PSRS systems. In St. Louis and Kansas City, they do belong to PSRS peers, and I'll later go through some of the contribution rates for there. their contributions that do pay in Social Security actually pay more than 29%, which is the current earnings for PSRS peers. If you look at that, that is Social Security takes out 196 on a $38,000 member, roughly around $23.56 per year of a Social Security that is taken out, and their benefits are not even close to what you will get from PSRS peers. The benefit, why we talk about a defined benefit plan, if you'll move on, Sarah, to the next slide. A defined benefit plan is very unique. Doesn't matter what your 401k looks like, and after several years, your 401k looks a little bit more abysmal depending on where it is and what it's going at. But roughly a defined benefit plan says that you will be entitled to a benefit that is prescribed by statute, and it will be with you for the rest of your life. And if you choose a survivor benefit, it will be with your survivor for the rest of their life. Most of our retirees, and I'll go through some of these numbers because they look a little bit daunting when you first look at them, but most of our retirees will contribute, their contribution will be used up in retirement in the first 5 years of service. They will get back every bit of their contribution plus interest earned. In the next 5 years of service in which they're receiving their retirement benefit, they will earn roughly their employer's match that is there. And for the remainder of their career, it is that 63% investment earnings that they will earn that they will draw in their retirement benefit for the rest. So to put this into practical experience so that you can kind of see what the numbers are. Our base factor after 30 years of service is 2.5 for our PSRS retirees. A final average salary, most of our average final average salary this year is around $55,000 for PSRS. That averages to a monthly benefit of $45.90 that you'll take. If you have 28 years of service, that adds to a benefit, single life benefit of $3,200 roughly. A final benefit, yearly benefit of $5,500. Again, after 30 years of service, that benefit then translates into a benefit in retirement of $38,000. $38,556 to be exact. If you worked and took an early out provision, which was passed back in the 1999, that allows for an early out starting at 25 years of service. That amounts to $30,000. What does that mean for the lifetime of our retiree? And that's the most important thing we look at. After 5 years, that benefit translates into $155,000. After 10 years, it's $325,000. I think when you really start seeing the impact of it, it's right around 20 and 30 years. At 30 years in retirement, most of our members will make it to 30 years retirement. Most of our members leave after 30 years of service at around 51, 52 years of age. The average retirement age for PSRS is right around 56. Our average retirement age is right around, if you look at us, we average right around 76 years of age. We have over 15,000 people that are over 80 years. We have 69 that are over 100. It is true, teachers do live forever. That's another selling point, that if you go into teaching, you will live a long life. I can tell you that much. So again, the value there is for you to save $1.2 million as an investor just out on your own, it is nearly impossible. In order for you to do that, you're going to have to put at least 29% of your salary away. Where our retired or our active teachers only have to put away 14.5, and they don't pay the 6.2 that Social Security. There's a huge benefit with a defined benefit plan versus a defined contribution plan. And that is probably one of the biggest things, is that goal that PSRS set out for in the beginning, which was to attract and retain teachers and keep them for a full career of service in our classrooms. I'm going to turn it back over to Hap after that.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Maria. And you can get an idea of Maria's extensive background in our PSRS peers program, and making it understandable to see why it is beneficial. I think it was just like my first year of teaching. I wondered, of course, at that time, the deduction was what, I think 8.5%.
That would be about right.
And I said, what in the world is this? And a dear lady came up to me, and she recently passed away at age 95. So good teachers do last longer. Richard, there's hope for us. She put her arm around me. She said, young man, there will come a day that you will appreciate that. And I've been appreciating that monthly since 1999. So because it does make a difference. So we want to come back to our learning outcomes because as we look at the theme, rocking together to make things better for our teacher candidates and as they come into practice and retire, the key words again are relationship, optimize, collaborate, and know-how. Now, Sarah's going to pull up the next slide, which talks about our current level of MRTA. Now, we have 114 units. A unit is spread out all across the state with that. So these are things that I, in sitting around and meeting with this group for the past 4 years, these are some of the things I generally hear about. Of course, you have some retired people in your educator preparation program, either as faculty members or you're on the ground supervisors. You may be using some of those as mentors and support. You may have some of our retirees coming in as guest speakers. Scholarships. I know, for example, our Boone County unit in Columbia, we gave away $2,500 in scholarships the past year. And in a recent poll of our other units, at least 28 give scholarships as well. They're involved in a variety of different associations, and some of them are involved in helping with work with the State Department. So the next piece we want to move on to is a recent Blue Ribbon Commission report that came out at the state board meeting last Monday. And these are just some brainstorming. I was sitting back and put on my educator preparation hat and my State Department hat and thinking about how we can be of assistance to preparation programs as well as the state. When it comes to grow your own programs, Richard talked about and Maria talked about, when you go, nothing like being a kindergarten teacher at the state fair. And everybody remembers those lovely days in kindergarten and the nurturing that teacher gave to those kids. And what a better way to begin recruiting teachers for the classroom is for somebody to walk up and tell somebody, excuse me, I think you'd be a great teacher. Why don't you try it? Recently, one of our high school programs, Father Tolton in Columbia, they were talking about recruiting their football team because 5 years ago, this young man took over as a coach and he had 17 players on a football team. And now he has over 50. And of course, at times, people said, well, it's a private school, you can recruit. His recruiting was in the hallway. And that could be the same thing in your communities. Team-based teaching models, building a cadre of newly retired teachers and build a system of support. Now, it'd be like you wouldn't want me coming back in and talk about teaching reading groups because I haven't taught a reading group since 1978 with that. But you have those new teachers out there that are extremely current in what's going on. They could also be assisted and help with educator evaluation and the accountability piece. Most importantly, supports mental health. Because my gosh, the world today, and as Stephanie was pointing out when we opened up the conversation a few minutes ago, that 4 of her candidates were on that campus where that school shooting occurred in St. Louis today. The mental health of students, the school community, and the community at large. And the other thing is, how do we help these teachers as they go into new communities, maybe moving miles from home and to be, become part of the community that they serve. Retired teachers can help them with that. And as I mentioned earlier, tuition assistance, which was the 7th recommendation with unit, region, and or state scholarships and grants, which is something we've kind of taken a look at. How can MRTA be involved in a state program? So now we want to switch in to talk about planning. One of the things is I learned a long time ago is the best thing to work, especially with teacher preparation programs, is just give a structure of the conversation and let the ideas come to the forefront. So I tell you, I'm going to be brave. We have 18 people online with us. So Sarah, if you would unmute everybody.
Well, they have to unmute themselves. But
Okay, if you would, please go ahead, unmute yourself. So as we get into this, instead of trying to keep up with chat lines, we can hear directly from you. We have about 25 minutes left. which is great. We're right on target where we wanted to be, because we want to hear about you in the next steps. So as we move forward, if we're not going to necessarily be able to know who's talking, so please introduce yourself first and then your comment. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, who, and of course this would be your pre-service teachers. Moving down to what, presentation and materials. Of the information we've presented today, or information that you think would be helpful, what should we consider if we put together a program for pre-service teachers about the mission and the benefits of being a teacher in Missouri and the retirement system? What would you think would be good information to share with those students? So if you would, please feel free to share your ideas. It's awful quiet out there. If you would, please, you're welcome to go ahead and share those.
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Are some of the things we talked about today on target? Or are there other things that you think would be beneficial?
This is Robert Williams from Moberly Area Community College.
Hi, Robert.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Hey, and you bring up another piece, because our community college people are PSRS as well. So this could deal with your faculty members.
Excellent. What I was going to say is not so much what needs to be in the program, but the medium that should be used. More than half of my students are online or virtual. As a matter of fact, 3/4 of my students are online or virtual. So whatever presentation you put together, a video of it that we could link to for our students in those classes would be really great.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Robert, we are looking at doing a video. We've gotten some discussions on that, especially the younger generation really do like short blurbs. They don't want it longer than 2 minutes, they say, and it needs to be upbeat. So that's a great point. We appreciate you bringing that up.
Okay. Any other ideas?
So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is Stephanie Clark. I'm with Lincoln University. I was thinking that sometimes our students get kind of just pigeonholed into just thinking like just being a classroom teacher, not knowing what other type of career opportunities are out there in the education field or in public school systems. So something about the different opportunities that that are out just beyond the classroom teacher.
Okay. And Stephanie, what institution are you with?
Oh, Lincoln University here in Jeff City.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anybody else?
This is Greg Stoutler from East Central College.
Hi, Greg.
It's good to see you, Hap. The one thing I always think of that our students really like to know, like the background of people. So like knowing if somebody else is a first generation college student and then they've had a whole career in teaching, kind of knowing some of that story behind the educator really helps my students make some of those connections. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
So
because I think as I sit across the table and look at Richard, both of us are kind of examples of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was first career educator in my family, and I don't know about Richard's family, but that's a good idea.
Just so they can see that and say, oh, there's somebody who's done this, before me. And like to Stephanie's point, I think it is helpful to kind of show and demonstrate that it is those top 3 years. So as we do want you to advance, we want you to go up a career ladder, and that's going to pay off in the end, Yeah.
No, thank you, Greg, and I appreciate the connection back to what Stephanie said as well, because some people, they choose, and there's nothing wrong with remaining in the classroom. But some choose to become counselors, librarians, school administrators, special ed directors, curriculum directors, so forth. And even superintendents. Some. Okay, other ideas?
I have an idea. So this Friday, I am hosting and facilitating a career, like a job search panel, basically. We have 5 educators coming in the morning, and I have a series of questions to ask them. And then we're having a career fair in the afternoon with 24 schools and districts. But one question I don't have in my list of questions is what retirement benefits do you offer for candidates or for your teachers?
Okay,
And so I think, and there's a mix of public, private, and charter coming. So there could be like, everyone could speak to what's offered. And I don't think we do give an opportunity for our students to hear about that enough. We tell them, and I mean, I might tell them in passing, yeah, it's very important, but it's vague to them. They think it's forever away. So I will be adding that to my list of questions so that they can hear that as one of the benefits.
Okay, and who's this on the other end?
Oh, sorry, this is Stephanie from UMSL.
Okay, I thought it was you, Stephanie, but I wasn't sure. Stephanie, is there anything that we can help you with for background information?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. A lot of times I follow up with certain things the next week. So this is going to be on October 28th. And so a lot of times the following Monday, I follow up with additional information for anything that kind of bubbles up during the panel. So yes, if you can direct me, I mean, I did look up your website today. If that's a place I could point someone or to give additional information, or you could let me know what would be appropriate. Or I could share these slides or some of these slides, like the ones that Maria were sharing that really actually show that the dollar amounts. I'd be happy to share anything.
Okay, yeah, we'll Richard and Maria will be glad to put something together and send that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, this is having, looking back again to my first year of teaching in first paycheck in 1972. I don't know if there's a lot of information that's provided. My 8 years at Central Methodist, we never talked in detail about what those retirement benefits were and what that looked like 25 or 30 years down the road.
I think some of it too is that people don't see themselves as retiring. They see it as something so off into the future, and it's not until you can see the light at the end of the tunnel that you start paying attention. I started with state government. They had no contribution rate, and they would say you have a retirement benefit, and I would say, okay, what is that? So I think it's giving them an actual dollar amount that when you retire after 30 years, you'll be given this amount if this is your final average salary. It kind of puts it more into.
Yeah. And then the fact is, like Maria mentioned that, a 30-year out would put you somewhere around 52.
Right.
I retired after 27 years in public school. So at age 49,
Wow.
I was doing something different, plus drawing my monthly PSRS benefit. Yeah.
And I think it's easy if you can compare it to what their parents are, because a lot of times they see, parents are so young and active. And if your parents could leave and start a new career at 49 and still draw that benefit, that's huge. That is a huge advantage to them.
Another piece of this, maybe something we could help put together on, if a person decides to leave after a certain period of time, what would they be able to draw? Not to digress, but I just remember conversations with different teachers when I was administrator who were talking about getting out. And I would sit down with them and say, now you certainly can get out, understanding that you can draw your money out, whatever you have contributed, you can draw that back. But what you leave on the table is what the district has contributed. And again, in visiting with different people who said, well, maybe I need to make a career change. I'd say you need to think about this because you're leaving the retirement contribution that your employer has provided for the years that you have been teaching. And sometimes it will cause people to rethink, maybe I need to stick with it.
Yeah, and one of the benefits with the public school retirement system and the peers retirement system is, and Hap and I spoke about this earlier, is if you decide to leave, you can take your contribution and an interest. They give interest, an interest rate every year on that. So you can take your retirement and leave. The problem is that you really don't want our teachers really taking that retirement out, because it really is detrimental to their financial security in the long run. So again, it is but it is one of the perks of PSRS peers. If you choose to take your retirement money and leave, you will still get that benefit that you put in plus the interest. It's not in your best interest to do so, but it still gives you a value.
Okay, that clock 5 minutes fast.
Okay. Our time, we're down to about 5 minutes left in our official time slot. Now, Sarah's got the link set up, so it'll go till 5. So if you want to stay on the line with us, you're certainly welcome to do so. Robert talked a little bit about where. What about when? When is this going to be beneficial to your pre-service teachers? Automatically you think about student teachers. Do you think it's beneficial early on in their preparation programs, or at the final stages? What's your thought?
This is Robert again. If I had a couple of short videos and links to them, I'd probably put them in all of my classes.
Okay.
I was thinking that too. Something we could even put on the clinical experience website as a reference. Be happy to do that.
Alrighty. Now, one of the other things in regards to times is to, as you're on board with us today, what educator preparation programs would be interested in working on a pilot with us later this winter or early spring?
What type of pilot?
It would probably be maybe reviewing videos or help design the videos, maybe even be a part of the conversation.
I would be willing. That'd be fun. Any chance to work with you, Hap, I'll be there.
Okay, that sounds good. Anybody else besides UMSL? Please let us know.
I think Lincoln University, I can find some willing participants.
Okay.
And Hap, I feel like we could get a representative from community colleges as well.
Okay. And let's see, that's Eric.
Robert.
Great.
Stoller.
Great.
Was it great?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
Hap, this is Jana, and I only work with the graduate students at Park, but I'm sure my undergrad friends would be willing to help out, and I would do whatever I could too. So if you just want to send that through me, I'll be sure to share that with our undergrad colleagues.
Okay. All righty.
That's a good geographical.
That is
Yeah,
across the state.
good. And Angela, what institution are you with?
Sorry, I was on mute. At Avila University.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. We can take more if you wish. All right, so Sarah, the next slide, please. All right, so as we move forward, as we mentioned, Richard's official title with MRTA is Chair of the Retirement Education Committee. So he'll share the comments that we collected today. We'll begin talking around the table, and then to involve those people who volunteered to help us with the pilot groups, and then pilot a few things, a couple of videos, and then report back to the MACTE Spring Conference, and then have plans to make these available in 23-24. All right. So since we are right about at that 4:45 time, closing thoughts, one more. These are information that today Richard talked about up in the upper left-hand corner about the experienced school teachers. This is a document that we have available to you. Richard was also the key author in that. The quad fold down below that, that is a new document that is just fresh off the press. So we can make that available to you, and we'll probably go ahead and follow up and send copies of this to everybody. As we talked about, MRTA is 30,000 strong, and we'll be glad to help in any way, shape, or form. So as we get ready to click our contact information, Sarah's going to pull it up on the screen real quick. And of course, you can see that, and we'll be sending this to your business, the MACTE business manager, so you can reference this at a later date with it. But that's contact information and telephone numbers, websites, and the website will include, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention membership information, because so all of you as educator preparation people, regardless of PSRS or peers, you're eligible to be an associate member. And I think that is what, $25 a month?
No,
And
a year.
And that gives you access to all the different insurance benefits that we have available through AMBA. So as we close today, Richard, Maria, any comments you would like to add?
We are really looking forward to working together with you and really making a difference in education, public education for the students, not the over 800,000 students that actually go through our schools, and for our active teachers who really are in the trenches right now. So we appreciate your time. We really appreciate you allowing us to come before you and talk about two of our biggest passions, which is our passion for the pension as well as for our public education and our teachers.
Richard, any closing comments?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. Anything we can do to be of help in your work in training the future teachers of this state, be sure and let us know.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. It's been a pleasure seeing familiar faces. I won't say old faces, familiar faces, and meeting some new people. But most of all, thank you for helping generate the next generation of educators, and God bless them as they go out there and face the challenges. And Stephanie, will keep you and your crew in our thoughts and prayers today.
Thank you, Hap. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you for joining MACTE, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.